Hello everybody, very nice that you are attending this talk about monitoring along the East Atlantic Flyway. My name is Mark van Roma. I work for SOF on the Center for Field Ornithology, but I'm also coordinating the bird monitoring along the East Atlantic Flyway for the Watersea Flyway initiative. I will tell you something about our approach and results, and I've also taken my colleague Albert, who attended us during this work at the Bank d'Arguin. Albert.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, nice to be here at the Youth Forum. And as Mark already said, I attended the total Flyway count in 2020, and that was impressive, and I will share some of my experiences of that count.
Okay, I will give some insight in our monitoring approach. So the title is Monitoring Coastal Waterbirds and Wetlands along the East Atlantic Flyway. I like to emphasize that it is not only from SOFON or the Watersea Flyway initiative, but we cooperate with Wetlands International and BirdLife International. Well, the whole approach, of course, is the East Atlantic Flyway, going from the Arctic to Northwest Europe, all the way down along West Africa to Cape Town in South Africa. Birds breeding in the high Arctic. This is a red knot with chicks, breeding on vast amounts of tundra, large areas, lots of snow, cold, and after the breeding season they come over to Europe and make use of our intertidal wetlands to gain new fat resources and do their molt. And some go all the way to, for instance, Mauritania. This is what they see if they arrive at the Bank d'Arguin, the small village of Iwik. So a real Arctic wader using this whole flyway is going from all the north to the south in West Africa. But of course, when we are in Africa, when we do these bird counts, there are also other species, pelicans, flamingos. This whole flyway work is not only about the Arctic birds or the Northwest European birds, but it is about all the birds using these wetlands, these coastal wetlands. It's not only about the birds, but we want also to know what is affecting the birds, so we look to all sorts of human uses. We look to also pressures to the birds so that we have an integrated approach, counts of birds and assessment of environmental circumstances. So here you see also an example from Africa, a lot of livelihoods, of course, going for small fish, but you have also industrial fisheries and also big uses like digging for oil and gas, which have, of course, high impacts on these wetlands. Here you see an example of how it looks like when we are doing these counts, and all over the flyway during January people are working on this. We have lastly estimated how many observers are doing this kind of work, and during January 2020, our last total count, it were about 15,000 observers all over the flyway working for this monitoring. Here you see some examples, distributions of two species, both Northwestern Europe and in Africa, different flyway populations. Here some examples of the trends we detect for brent goose, common eider, common shelduck, but also African wintering birds, Eurasian spoonbill, great white pelican, greater flamingo, and you see it's a whole mixture of decreases, increases, stable developments, and this tells us a lot about the natural quality of these wetlands, about future management, priorities for conservation, etc. Small story, this gives the average trend over groups of functional groups, birds who are breeding in the Arctic, birds who are breeding in Northwest Europe, birds which are breeding in Africa. And a striking example is that the birds breeding in the high Arctic, these ones, are showing decrease. The average is below the zero. So on average, this group of Arctic breeders are really having trouble along the flyway. They are decreasing. The other time, the flamingos, the pelicans, some herons in Western Africa show quite reasonable, okay trends, stable or even increasing. So there is huge differences in developments along this flyway. This is the kind of wetlands we counted along the flyway, and especially the wetlands, the number of sites per country in which we did environmental monitoring, in which we assessed the human uses. And one of the striking results of this assessment of pressures is that more and more effects of climate change are mentioned. So you see in red Europe, in blue Africa, but at both regions, at all the sites, the effects of climate change, temperature, flooding, extreme weather is mentioned more and more as a threat to the wetlands and the birds and the people, of course. We have written down in 2017 a big report. It can be downloaded from the Common Watersea Secretariat website, and we are now presently working at new reports.
So the end of, I think it was the end of 2019 that Mark asked me to join the team going to Mauritania, to the Bank d'Arguin, to help with the total flyway count. And when we get there in January 2020, we first arrived in the capital, Nouakchott, and then we had to do some arrangements and with the local organizations, of course, because they are also involved. And then after that, we drove with pickups to Iwik. That's a small village along the coast at the Bank d'Arguin. And there we started the real job. And we had a daily routine. So first of all, we started with discussing the dividing of the counting plot. So who was going to go where. And then after that, we had to discuss the transport, whether we were going by boat or by pickup. And then we had to go there and to be there in time before high tide, because high tide is the time to start your count. Because all the waders, all the waterbirds are gathering together at the shallow areas. And that was an amazing experience, because the Bank d'Arguin is an amazing place. When you come there out of the Sahara, you see the mud flats, you see the shallow sea, and you see so many birds, millions of birds. And so we did a count. It was quite successful. We counted over 1.7 million birds. So you can imagine how many birds there are there. It's such an important place. I think I learned two things of the whole experience over there. That birds are world travelers, and it was really nice to be in a week. And at a moment, I saw some ringed large gull, so a lesser black-backed gull, and I read the ring. I reported it to the ringer, a friend of mine, and it turned out to be that I've seen the same individual 4 years before that in the Netherlands. So that was, of course, it was really nice. And then you see that everything is connected. Birds are world travelers, and we really need to protect the whole flyway and all these very important areas. And the second thing I learned was that birds connect people. And one of the things that happened, that I was stuck in the mud, and one of the local counters that helped me out, because I wasn't able to do that anymore. And he was experienced in that area, and that was really nice, how we worked together to navigate and to help each other out, and also to count together and to help each other learning how to count so many birds. That was what I wanted to tell you. And above all, I think it's really important that we continue this work, and that we do this effort to be able to protect the birds, because they need it. So thank you for joining this talk, and we hope that you are encouraged to get involved in the Watersea Flyway initiative in your own country. And you can also follow us on Twitter with these accounts.